universe message being sent to you. I was like, where's my music playing? There it is on YouTube. Okay. Clan War's finally starting, so I don't have any fancy graphics, unfortunately. But byun is on Team Wardi, and Nightmare is on Team Benny and the boys. I forgot for a second. I can add like a text, so it seems easy enough. Let's choose a cool font. What's a cool font, guys? Comic Sans. Okay. DeMuslim 0, 0. Basically professional level production. Add a low outline. Bigger outline. Bigger. Bigger. It just looks like I made an emoji. Okay. Sleep paralysis has this feeling of dread and terror. But sleep paralysis is like literally paralysis, right? I don't think that's what's happening. There's a mint green team, is what I'm gonna call this color. So byun technically proxies, but not really. You know the deal. Factory expand is not uncommon. I mean, you would expect byun to play this way. Nightmare shouldn't be really surprised. Nightmare is coming in as the 5th pick, one of the last ones. Very untested as far as the Korean players go. He actually has been around for a very long time, but never really made a lot of waves. He just showed DTs could be useful at a time when no one thought they could be useful. That's kind of his claim to fame. Looks like Nightmare built a Zealot because he saw there was a missing barracks and then just sent it across the map. Which is a better use of it than having it at home, honestly. Especially because the Reaper wasn't actually proxying. Ooh, woo. Looks like the TikTok text. I don't know what that is. I've seen TikToks. But I can't visualize the text. This Reaper has gotten 2 probe kills. That's okay. That's all right. I think it's maybe a bit more important to know what else has been gotten here. So if Nightmare messed up his probe production, he did get a shield battery. I would argue that is a waste for this particular game. But if it was a follow-up Hellion drop, then it would have been really useful. Unfortunately, it is not a Hellion opener, and I think Nightmare maybe was expecting that. Maybe well, you don't usually swap reactors like that, but regardless, the Phoenix opener, Phoenix portion of this game, it's totally fine to go into Phoenixes, right? But it could still be somewhat of a reaction just because it is the safest tool to get against something unknown. What is my opponent doing? I'm not sure. Stargate's a really good option, and Phoenix totally fine too. Oracle would be missing maybe like detection if it was a armory would have mind drop, but you could get that out pretty quickly. So all in all, I think it's still like it's a good enough game for Nightmare to actually show his stuff. But Nightmare got a decent game going against Euthermal, and Euthermal actually bopped him with a follow-up 2-1-1 basically. So Nightmare, he can get into good games, he can do all the right things, and then he kind of just drops all his lambs. Very drops all his lambs type of Protoss player. Who will get your backing this game? Oh, byun should definitely win. I actually don't know who Nightmare is favored against, really. Thinking of other, like, last picks, as much as I didn't care about first picks, and I think that last picks are also still a bit disingenuous to say, like, oh, last pick and only winning against other last pick players. You think he was last pick, right? Prince was 4th? I'm not sure. I feel like anyone could defeat Nightmare. But especially byun, I think, is maybe even gonna easily win? This is a bit of a cockeyed little push here. It's just enough to be bothersome to a Phoenix opener. If the Marines didn't come, Phoenix deal with this, and it's a total failure for byun. If the Marines came and the Cyclones didn't, it'd still be, I think, a slam dunk for Nightmare. But everything combined together, even the Widowmine, though it didn't pop off, required to be targeted. 7 probes do go down. 1 Phoenix died, I believe, right? Overall, technically a slightly better trade for Nightmare because he lost less gas. But I don't know. It is something that byun would be known to do, just to kind of offset Nightmare. And since Nightmare didn't get a particularly fast 3rd Nexus, being down 4 probes is bad. I mean, it is bad in general. You don't want to be down in probes versus a Terran player who's got the mules. But then you might say, well, his 3rd Nexus is done, so we'll just get to chronoing out the probes. He'll be up 16 probes, no problem. Give him a second. Not in this game. So, say that trade was actually very worth it for byun. Now follows up into those medevacs. The Phoenix get bullied away. They're still fine as far as anti-medevac defense. So byun has to be careful. Okay, Nightmare. This is your moment. This is your moment. Come on. Don't drop the spaghetti. I think byun's gonna wait for confirmation on where the Phoenix are. Good on byun. Good on byun to do that, actually. It is way too dangerous to assume the Phoenix went back home and then chilled at the 3rd next. Oh, okay, never mind. I take it back. byun, please. Woof. Nightmare does respond really quickly, but because byun also responded quickly. Nightmare's moments is still his moment. He basically deflects this attack, which you might say, well, it's all fair because no one lost anything. Well, it does lose byun a little bit of timing on what could have been a forward attack with those units. Imagine a forward attack and Nightmare's Phoenix are out of position. That might have been a little bit better. So, you know, again, it's always, even perhaps more so than just the direct damage that you see in Starcraft, the indirect damage, the chance is lost otherwise. Nightmare's setup is pretty good. It is pretty good. He's about to be up against Ghosts, but since he went into Robotics Bay anyways, that's not really the biggest problem. If he had Storm, then clearly he's about to die. But up against Colossus, that's fine. Natural progression of TVP. They'll nullify the Phoenix from really supporting on the grounds, and they'll just probably kill the Phoenix too if they are engaged in combat, but Nightmare just play a bit defensively. Should be fine. Should be fine. He does not have charge, and that is actually a bit worrying. Usually with a Phoenix opener, you can delay that blink, get charge first for a certain amount of time, but actually not fitting in charge. That's the only reason I'm worried. It's the only reason I'm worried. It feels like he just forgot charge, actually. I know that sounds weird, and I may be totally wrong, but it feels like that should have been researched, like alongside +1. Is he also, like, I'm saying this because he has 9 Zealots that look really weak right now. Pretty good EMP. Thankfully, Shield Battery Overcharge heals up everything almost instantly. And Nightmare is still holding on. I'm not sure how powerful his chase will be. Pretty powerful, actually. He's doing totally fine. And if he is going to win the chase, then it is very much his prerogative to chase. The Phoenix help a lot with that, and I would usually say charge lots help a lot with chasing too, but charge isn't done, so that's the awkward part. So that actually means that byun's army is going to survive like a little bit more, right? Like 5 or 6 Marines, 1 Marauder, 1 Ghost, whatever, is actually perhaps going to make it home when it really should not have. That Ghost, not it though. Gets burned to a crisp. So a Nightmare controls the situation rather well, and as he heads into byun's third, that's when Charge is going to finish. What he's missing now is a Warp Prism. Spoke too soon. There it is. That's perfectly timed, and this is a perfect position for a guy who still has 3 Colossus. This is perfect. This bullies the Terran player drastically. If Nightmare wins this game, I feel like Wardi's plan to win this clan war is already dead and gone. But this is quite a concave, pulling the SCVs as well, just tanked all of those Colossus shots. Oh my god, Nightmare overstaying his welcome. I think as soon as the command center lifted, you had to find a different type of pathway. You had to pull back to one of these chokes. You had to recall even perhaps, although that's always a bit sketch. And byun does end up holding. Oh no. Nightmare does have a 4th base, about 75% done, and I think he'll have another chance at life here, but that was... yeah, that was exactly what byun needed to do, really. Gather his Marauders, decent medevac count as well, and then pull the SCVs with a good concave. Had he not lifted the command center, we're talking about perhaps a different story. The Colossus probably have nullified most of the Terran army, and it's more like a 100 versus 110, 15, whatever supply, not a 40 supply difference. Nightmare is in a load of trouble as his upgrades are definitely the last thing on his build. It's not that he forgot them necessarily, it's just that he wasn't really prioritizing them. So he's now feeling the effects of that as 1-1 is done for the Terran. I mean, even if 1-1 is done for Nightmare, which it will be in 3 seconds, it's not like he's actually taking on that army as is. And Nightmare is having a nightmare right now. Back down to 3 bases, that is atrocious. He needed that 4th base to say that I had a second chance in this game. byun is literally getting his 4th. So I don't know if Nightmare's going to be able to recover. He's trying to Zealot run by. Doesn't even get to intercept reinforcements. He's having trouble dealing with a drop in the main base. Bad news indeed. High Templars get warped in. Gonna look for feedback, which they do find. Only after being EMP'd, though. And this Colossus doesn't stand a chance. Nightmare... that was looking like a decent position, but I think the Protoss player has to be really wary because they look like the bully. Because the bull lead has to kind of cower for even a full minute. They have to be the one saying, all right, you're the big boss here. But as soon as they choose their moment, especially when we're talking about Korean Terrans, oh my god. Still not good enough, though. It's usually a good moment. Usually a good moment. It was a good disruptor shot, but down to 2 bases, 35 probes. Really, we're only talking about the disruptors. GG. That was a little morale victory, I would argue. Habits die hard. Guess I can leave this chat channel. Jesus. So we're staying on Korea almost all the matches today. How about that Blizzard CEO tweet? How about this dangling good news and not actually telling us anything at all from Blizzard? Feels good, doesn't it? He didn't say anything. He tweeted a picture of a t-shirt, specifically a Starcraft t-shirt. It says, "My life for ire," with no comment. So very much on purpose.
Hostile
very
forces
much
detected. Arming
a
raid
teaser.
defensive.
Oh, thank you, Crankly Ducklings. But I don't know what it means. I don't know anything. You know, usually back when Blizzard was actually investing, you know, a decent amount in StarCraft, we would have had a summit, and I would have known something, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you. But we get told nothing. Now, I do have a meeting, hopefully, with someone at DreamHack, where we might learn more, but I still won't be able to tell you anything. Is BlizzCon related, maybe? I thought BlizzCon 2022 is officially canceled. Or am I misremembering? The thing is, it's very much not a picture of a shirt. It's not him wearing a shirt with a thumbs up. It's not him saying, hey, new shirts on sale, guys. I think it's just the medium he chose to tweet a picture about Starcraft. It is canceled. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Because if BlizzCon was happening, one, it would have been announced already. People have to prepare for that shit. Two, that actually would have been a viable guess. That maybe they're just teasing. They're going to bring Starcraft back to BlizzCon. But that's not happening. So that can't be it. No, I actually, if I'm going to guess that they are going to, let's see here. I'm going to guess that they're going to continue supporting StarCraft 2 esports with ESL. So they're going to announce like some year-long continuation, maybe longer. And maybe like a war chest or a Nova-esque campaign mission, actually. That's actually my guess. I know it sounds unrealistic because they literally got rid of, or people left them, both, of all the people who worked on RTS, but I don't think the CEO of Blizzard would only tweet ambiguous things, because he also tweeted to Simulu, that little smiley face, because of esports related things. I think there has to be something actually about StarCraft in it. Tennis for Fortnite, yeah. Big crossover. StarCraft characters now in Call of Duty. That would actually significantly help us. I know it'd be kind of a meme. We wouldn't benefit directly, but I think we'd actually get a lot more attention on us if that were true. Co-op commander is kind of what I was thinking with a war chest, but yes, yeah. Co-op commander, campaign mission, co-op mission, skins, maybe even a new announcer. They still have announcers that they can do. That doesn't include us. I can't think of any right now, but it's been a while since I've played the campaign. So that's my excuse. I mean, they could get like the Cerebrate. You know, there's so many announcer opportunities. No. It's definitely nothing to do with sales. I'm only answering seriously because a couple of people responded to the tweet or responded to the excitement about the tweet, legitimately stating, oh, it's just a shirt, guys. Like, they're just going to sell stuff. And I'm like, I don't think that's true. If that were true, they would be actually advertising. You don't guerrilla market, you know, kind of like guerrilla marketing's going on right now for merchandise. That's not a big enough deal to guerrilla market. The announcer, only if they gave me a script, man. Like, I will happily work with someone on a script, but making me script the entire thing, that's too hard. It's too hard. Donnie Vermillion, co-op commander. Hells yeah. Baffling, completely abandoned StarCraft 2. You know, for me, it's not even completely abandoning the idea of skins or DLCs, because they actually don't make that much money from any of it, unfortunately. They do make enough money and they make a profit, but, you know, it's always like how much of a profit is the question. For me, it's bewildering that they would drop an entire like IP basically. Like Starcraft is this hugely recognizable name in every sphere of gaming. Every sphere. You got multi-generational branding. You have both the esport and kind of like typical video game, if you will, like box set video game that people will recognize. And it's still a highly respected game. So it's not like you're dusting off something that's been completely abandoned by the community. And that's what's bewildering to me, is that they were seemingly just going to say, yeah, we're completely done with StarCraft. I feel like there's no reason to do that. StarCraft 2, one of the best-selling games of all time. Like, think StarCraft 3 wouldn't make money? Of course it would make money. But maybe it doesn't make as much money as Call of Duty does, and with 10 times the effort of Call of Duty. Although they also aren't doing Call of Duty every year anymore, which I was very happy to hear about. I was really surprised, like that was announced, and then I read some of the Reddit thread, and some of the people were angry. They're like, lol, Blizzard getting L's again, can't believe they're not going to do a yearly Call of Duty. And I was like, you guys like that? What? No. I got an A in my script writing class. Okay, I'm gonna hit you up if I ever get contacted then. I'm gonna see if I can get you some dollar bills as well. I mean, I think Blizzard right now is very much trying to get back on the train tracks. Trying, and mildly successful, like lowest expectations type of successful. They just call me the zombie scrubs. That's okay. I mean, DeMuslim literally lost to my team, so there's really no bite to that insult, is there? Yeah, I agree, Ison. They gotta figure it out better for Age of Empires 4. What IP is Blizzard all in on now? They're still pretty dedicated to Warcraft, World of Warcraft. And they are apparently pretty dedicated to Overwatch, despite seemingly good logic, but whatever. It's a harder community to monetize. I mean, yes, I don't think it's because we're too sophisticated to be manipulated, although that's really like it's like a Family Guy meme. You think you're better than us? Like Starcraft is the only one there. I don't know why I'm getting a drive-by when it's literally Wardi versus DeMuslim. I'll throw that out there. I feel like it's just being mean. Yeah, it's the Caster Civil War. It's like a co-stream here. You know, the main stream's on Wardy's channel. What did the Muslim say to my... I see you guys told him what I said. Okay, there we go. Yes. Bottom left, it's classic. Top right, it's Maru. Maru playing for the Muslim. Classic playing for Wardi, so he gets the 1 next to his name. The lovely clap. I mean, it was just a fact. I have saved all of my BM for the actual cast with each other. Okay? Although it's funny, I would just say I feel like things that weren't really all that trash talky in Twitch chat, and people would be like, "Oh, ZombieGrub, you got the best trash talk," and I was like, "What? No. I'm clearly just saying that the Muslim should be using this trash talk. It's the easiest low-hanging fruit ever." Oh, ZombieGrub saying that pig, you know, bacon is back on the menu. What a cool burn. No, it's like the lowest hanging fruit that the Muslim couldn't even reach for. Yes, yes, zombie scrub. Is that a height stab? No, the Muslim's perfectly fine height. Seriously though, these are things that I'm really not dealing well with. And I feel bad being the one who drags it down, so I put on a brave face for the actual clan war. But yeah, I'm really not handling this well.
Hostile forces detected. Arming raid defenses.
So if we could, I don't know, leave the trash talk, even if it's directed at me, at the other chat, that'd be best. So, I do think that Maru wins this, but Maru's not been playing like super hot. His GSL performance wasn't that great, apparently. We got Classic going for cheese, which is very expected in my opinion. I mean, it's not the cheesiest of cheese, to be fair. Proxy Stargate is like 5 out of 10. I never got the trashing. I mean, I think it's in the spirit of things, so I'm not even really blaming anyone in like chat. Obviously, there's the factor of all of us being friends on the caster side that, you know, trash talk's a little more understandable, I guess, weirdly enough. But it's like even when Twitch chat's trash talking, it's like it's very much the spirit of the event. I do think some people are being basically needlessly mean. Like they don't understand what trash talk is, and they just understand what being a dick is. But like I'm not gonna blame anyone. I'm 100% gonna blame myself. Like I just been dealing with some anxiety stuff. It's not fun.
Resubscription received. Apparently you are doing something.
But the
right,
weirdest thing
Captain.
about this is that being professional is like dealing with the trash talk, as weird as that is. Thank you, Days Go Slow, for 16 months. I have not felt like the days have gone slow in a while. I wish they would go slower. This is getting a little complicated. The Oracles are going to use most of their energy killing Marines, though, which actually, you know, that's always a fear for a Terran player, is that suddenly they're only on 4 Marines, and like a third Oracle shows up, and they're like, oh shit. But I don't think it's a problem in this game. Maru is not macroing perfectly, and I'm only bringing this up because it is Maru. He's not muling. Well, why isn't he muling? Because it's Oracles, it's definitely not DTs. That's actually weird, really weird. Combined with the Marine production being lackluster when he had 300 minerals, I mean, it's Maru. Like, that's the only reason I'm being so critical. It does seem like he's playing really off. Now he's supply blocked, only for 5 seconds, but still. And now it's 4 Oracles, and that actually is gonna kill him because the Cyclone died. Oh my god, that Cyclone didn't die, just kidding. Oh no, oh no, oh, quickly, it backfires when it comes to Oracles. Oh my god, glass fucking cannons. Oh my god, that was gonna be so much worse. That could have been game over. And I think Maru was barely gonna hold. Actually, at this rate, if he saves that Cyclone, I'd say if he holds with flying colors. Oh my god. Classic. Understandably, going for gold right there. I actually can't blame him all that much, but not actually killing that Cyclone was a big mistake. That's crazy. So now Maru's only down 5 workers. He is, however, well, I guess I actually still like this more for Classic, believe it or not. Like, that didn't seem very good. That looked like a disaster towards the end, but The reason I might like it for Classic is that I don't think he dies to this push. And Maru is very late to stim, has no third CC, and this was before the Adepts got in, so now the Adepts are in 100%, he's gonna fall behind. Yeah, okay, yeah, so yeah. Even without this kerfuffle, I was still rethinking things, and I was like, oh, actually, I think Classic is fine. What a wacky game. Classic is a very fun player. 10 SCVs have gone down. Adepts are blocked out this time around, and they are going to die on their way out. But, again, it's not even the SCV count, because the SCV count's actually quite good for Maru. If you were talking about him having stim done and working on combat shields, Medevac's about to pop out, then I'm like, all right, Maru, what can you do? But Classic is going to be okay, I think. His blink starts around the same time as stim does. That's not necessarily a good thing, I'm just pointing it out. He is going up to 3 bases. His Nexus wasn't as fast as I was giving it credit for. If it was 20 seconds faster, I would be very firm in my belief. But it's actually is not that fast for 3rd Nexus. He will not be recovering his economy all that quickly. And this push is now looking scary. Now that everything can finally get together. This is Cyclone with Overcharge, man. Or Overcharge, yeah. This is Cyclone with the upgrade, man. And the Overcharge isn't gonna happen. Okay, so Maru instantly claps back. Cool. Cyclones can technically end games, but they probably shouldn't. Yeah, you just gotta... I mean, when the Cyclone has its upgrade, it's almost pointless to try and run away from it. Oh, the save. Oh my god. This game has been wacky. Thank you, Frog. I need a Cycle Vape for the 16 months. Magfield Accelerator. I believe.
Resubscription received. Apparently you are doing something right, Captain.
Blink finally finished, which is a great tool to have against Cyclones, but it finished so late. And now Stim is done. Now Combat Shields is on the way, and yeah, Maru has the lead now, for sure. For sure. Classic could have bought time for Blink, or could have bought time for twice as many Stalkers. He probably pushes that away 20 seconds ago, but now it's too much. Too much. That very YOLO guy, thank you for the 12 months, 1 years. For that, many more years of lurking. Thank you. Not a bad find on 2 Marauders, but does lose a Stalker in a situation where he can't be losing anything at all. Classic literally has to play a perfect game from here on out to recover, and so far that's not the case. I do believe in the power of Classic Stalkers. I think he's a very good Stalker user, but he can't build up that dangerous count. So it's like, and the best Stalker user isn't going to be great. A Would've drop, believe it or not, I feel like is a good scenario for Classic, because he can theoretically hold against this perfectly. Theoretically. Hiastan, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Also Backspace, 3 gifted subs. I think I missed that during all the Oracle kerfuffle. Thank you all for the gifted subs. Don't forget to, support Wardi's channel as well. Wardi organized this entire thing. Cool graphics, players showing up on time. Casters didn't need much convincing, to be honest, so I don't give him any credit for getting us together. But everyone else, it's great.
Twitch Prime sub received.
Official Doppler effects. Thank you for the Prime sub. So yeah, Classic stabilizes, but it just is way too late. It's way too late. He's on 3 bases, but still down 6 workers. He doesn't have a good army at all. And he could have theoretically held against this perfectly. Whew. Call that perfectly. And loses the Stalker, so definitely not perfect. It still pulls him out of position. So there's the side benefit to that Would've drop. Classic was very close to winning this game. Insanely close to winning this game. Oh, Artosis Pylon. Oh, the Would've in perfect position. That's a JJ. Maru's not gonna lose from this position. Damn close. But Maru's still working for Benny and the boys. He didn't against my team, but that's fine. GG. G to the G. Stop that. Damn it. Habits. And we still stay on Korea because these boys love the Koreans. Next up is Prince versus Creator, which Creator should win. So far this has gone the way that I predicted, I think. Yes. Yes. The only question mark I have is actually Zest Solar. It's the only question mark. And I kind of feel like Zest should win it, but we kind of have one of the most, how to say, Protoss who fluctuates a lot because of seemingly his own fault. I would argue. Like, whenever Zest doesn't win, it feels like it's because he's doing something really weird. Like, kind of almost inarguably incorrect.
Thank you for becoming a member.
Which is not something you say very often about pros. But yeah, Zest makes a lot of those questionable losses. Solar, I would say, is the opposite in a way, where everything he does is probably inarguably correct, but then he gets unlucky for like one or two things. So I don't really know what happens when they both face each other. Undefined BHVR. Thank you for the gifted sub. We're in lobby. I'm going to take this opportunity to BRB, get some water. So, 2 minutes. That's a bit more than 2 minutes, but I am back. What have I missed? It's all tied up. Yeah. Whew. Prince did something very weird in PvP. Obviously. Thing is, it wouldn't be that weird if he high ground walled, or low ground walled, obviously. But what is this instead? I don't see any benefit to it, personally, but alright. Prince can be a crazy character. Uh-oh. Yeah-oh. No Piggly Wiggly this time. And I don't think it's me, but... Okay, the players definitely feel it.
Game paused.
Oh, Wardi's connection's going down. That's unfortunate. Korea has always provided some problems. Some months much worse than others. For some of the observers. They finally get Starcraft Ghost? I don't think so. I think they'll do a first-person shooter, but I'm not sure they'll go with Ghost.
Game resumed.
I feel like there'd be still a good time to go for like a battle royale. Jump on that train. This is a very interesting build from Prince, gotta say. 1 gateway into 2 gateways at the front, 3 gate. Not all in, because he has a natural nexus, but very dedicated, and then he missed micro severely. Prince just sent a stalker into the natural. I think they'll make a StarCraft 2 I think they should make a StarCraft 2 FPS. It does not conflict with Overwatch IMO, because Overwatch is an arena shooter. They have other FPSs they can do. But I'm someone who actually believes in the value of the StarCraft brand, and apparently Blizzard doesn't, so who knows. Plus, they were trying to make a shooter only a couple of years ago. Got canceled. So Creator actually busts through the shield battery with 2 Adepts and an Oracle, which still won't net him very many probe kills. But because Prince didn't have any technology, he just went straight to 3 gateways. The fact that he did absolutely 0 damage to Creator still puts him in a really awkward position. I guess it's still kind of better for him, though, because Creator wasn't exactly getting to very good technology. He got a Stargate, an Oracle that has not done too much yet, and then a Void Ray, which is a little pricier and generally not useful the longer PvP goes. So, actually, Prince still pretty much in the lead. He's up workers, he's ahead on Blink. If he gets a Forge, he'll be ahead on that. He's very ahead in the 3rd Nexus. This is quite a bold Nexus. But I guess what he did with the aggression is he forced Crater to respond, basically. He forced him to respond. He forced him to play defensive. And that included this particular game of Void Ray. That Void Ray... Wait, how much does that cost now? How much does the Void Ray cost? Anyways, it costs a lot, alright? And that's also included, I guess, 2 shield batteries as opposed to just a 1. What I'm trying to say is, you don't get those. You say, oh, this isn't gonna work, I'm totally fine. You kind of risk your defense, and you have a much faster Twilight Council. Maybe you have an ability to punish this 3rd Nexus, or you have your own 3rd Nexus as well. Like, any of those options is better than what Creator actually has, which is less workers, an okay army, but an army that's not exactly... Its quality isn't quite there. It's not terrible. You know, a Void Ray can actually add a ton to a Stalker battle, of course, if it doesn't get shot down, but I don't believe in it as much as I believe in just pure Stalkers here. It is 250. So what was it before? 200? Because I was gonna guess 250. Ah. What's an interesting game. All said and done, Prince hasn't gotten that big of a lead, despite his worker count, despite his much faster Nexus. It only nets him, you know, this graph is not actually that intimidating. It goes high, yes, but when you look at the numbers, it's not that bad. If this was 1600, it'd be like, oof, he just afforded so many things with that spike. This is still very much a game that's going to come down to how they position themselves. Prince goes for a pretty bold 4th base as well. This guy likes to expand. Jeez Louise. He either repowered this gateway or it never got depowered. I'm not sure which one. That buff to Void Rays years ago is terrible. You never know exactly what it means for the game when you change something, alright? Let me tell you a story. 2011, Starcraft 2. I believe it was 2011. Starcraft released in like July of 2010 or something. Someone was like, you know, Queens just aren't really cutting it as the early game defense. We think Zerg needs a little help. Someone said, let's just give Queens an extra range. That's not that bad, right? And they were like, no, that sounds fine. That's not going to change anything. We're good. Changed the course of history. Literally, StarCraft 2 historian experts in the year 2055 will point back to the Queen buff and Wings of Liberty as the reason StarCraft 2 was never balanced. Literally. Anyways. Gateway's finally depowered. That would have been really useful for DTs later on, so I do think it's very important that that was depowered. Well, you got yourselves an attack. This isn't actually hitting with any particular timing in mind. +2 is only halfway done for both of them. And in fact, we finished faster for Creator, so Prince is just hoping to find Creator really out of position. As even compositionally, there's not too many differences. 2 Archons for each, way more Zealots for Prince, but while that does give him that army supply advantage, I'm not sure it actually breaks Shield Battery Overcharge. The 2 Archons, I would say, live indefinitely when they're powered up by an overcharge, and as such, they would kill a indefinite amount of Zealots, I guess. Let's see if my predictions come true. So far, so good. Creator even using some hold position micro to make sure that he doesn't lose any unnecessary Zealots. Yeah, I'm funny sometimes. That's true. It's very accurate. And Creator is held. Totally fine. Robotic space coming down for both players. When you do reach this point, which ended up basically being this +2 attack, which has been consistent in Legacy of the Void PvP since it released. Well, not really. There was these weird Legacy of the Void years. No one knew how to play Protoss when Legacy of the Void was announced because it changed the dynamic of the race so drastically, especially PvP. Towards the beginning, it was literally who just made more Adepts because you didn't wall. So some genius was like, let's just wall. And the Adept era was thankfully shorter lived. But then at some point in like 2017, or maybe it was 2018 actually, we had the Mass Adept era. That was weird. Anyways, +2 timing has always been important because actually with Mass Adepts, +2 timing, +2 actually changed their kill shots on other Adepts. The more you know. Anywho, if it doesn't work out, if no one really takes a lead and no one wins, then you kind of have to go into the next stage of PvP, which is disruptors. The attacks on Creator's economy weren't actually all that impressive. They looked like they would cause a lot of trouble. There was one at the fourth and one in the main, but handled really neatly by Creator. How dumb would the game be if they got the Mothership Core around? I mean, I really don't like the Mothership Core's design. As far as its balance, I don't know. The thing is that it really wouldn't be... It wouldn't work with Legacy of the Void, like, as it is right now, all that well. But I'll get into it later, maybe. It's a discussion. Certainly is a discussion. A Warhound was always going to be a terrible idea. It was way too much of an anti-Protoss unit. They already pretty much fucked themselves over from having mech in this matchup when they created the anti-mech unit, the Immortal. That was literally its purpose, and it's too good at its job. Plus, charge lots are way better than speed lots. And we don't have vultures or spider mines. So basically they're like, okay, we need to make sure that Protoss has a viable option against Terran mech because we're expecting Terran mech to be good again, right? Nope. And then they're like, well, Terran mech's not any good at all, but we'd like to have that option. Let's give them something that's really good against Protoss. And they made something that's too good against Protoss. And they're like, oh, our bad. Plus the Warhound was just a jank unit. It just didn't make any sense. I mean, the Cyclone, I think, is also a bit of a jank unit. It's a box, guys. It's a fucking box. Alright. Blizzard design team gets an F for that particular design. Holy shit. Korean server, please. Danger Lego. Yeah, the Warhounds did not look particularly in line with Starcraft 2. It very much looked like a Warhammer thing or a Command & Conquer thing. Like, definitely Starcraft... Oh my god, I hope the players aren't feeling this. Oh my god. StarCraft 2 has definitely grown in its, I guess, visual identity since StarCraft 1. But Blizzard's really good about actually having a visual identity. You would look at something and be like, that looks like it's from Blizzard. That looks like it's from StarCraft or Warcraft. And the Warhound was not really it. Neither is the Cyclone, but... Cyclone, for opposite purposes, it's too mundane. The Warhound was actually maybe even too unique. Well, I don't know what this issue is, but Korea sometimes be like that. Could be me, could be Wardi again, could be anyone. Just haven't felt it this bad in a long time. That was me, actually.
Game paused.
Or it's Wardi. Oh. Well, it could be multiple of us, to be honest. But it's obviously a lot more important that Wardi is able to stay in the game. In before he has to host my channel. Most impactful unit that was ever created in StarCraft 2? You mean that impacted StarCraft 2? I mean, a lot of people would argue it was the Queen. Forgot to feed the server hamster. It's actually just spinning on the wheel, getting slower and slower until it just dies and spins its death cycle. But yeah, the Queen and everything it does kind of had, I think, the most rippling effects. Because you have the Queen being good defensively and good offensively, is what people eventually found out. But very good defensively, no doubt about that, for years in StarCraft 2. And you had it with these abilities that were really quite good, creep and injects. And the transfuse just helped them be even more defensive. And people will always be like, well, you had to pick and choose. And it's like, do you really? You just make more queens. Calm down. Again, not trying to balance complaint, just that if I had to point to one unit that dramatically changed or impacted StarCraft, I'd say that the Queen has the most impactful place. Because I do think at one point in StarCraft 2, very early on in its career, it was very much supposed to be a pick and choose thing. I think it was even quite common for the casters to point out that if they transfuse, they couldn't creep spread, and everyone sucked at creep spreading anyways back then. But now, very rarely do you have that conversation. You point out like, oh, this guy had a transfuse, so he didn't have a creep. It's more like, this guy had a transfuse, so he has 2 less creep tumors over his overall 6 creep tumors. Zoinks. Anyways, this game's been going on. It looks like the ping has been solved, at least for now, but I still think that while it hasn't maybe affected any particular battle directly, and I'm not even sure I can say that, I'm sure it definitely has affected the momentum. So Prince is already up to these capital ships. That's quite concerning for Creator, who is using these run-bys, not even to really do a lot of direct damage, but of course, that is usually the main reason, but also to buy time. He was later to his Tempests. Not by too much by the looks of things, but he was later, so he starts building Tempests. Now, there's always that funny dynamic. I talk about it a lot. There's a little bit of a rock, paper, scissors thing going on with capital ships and Void Rays, because Void Rays aren't really capital ships, in PvP. Generally, it comes down to a Tempest have vision and they utilize their range. They are the best. They don't die very much. But because Tempest can't always do that, because the Interceptors get into the range, because they just leash and latch on and their glass cannons, carriers can sometimes be better. And then there's even the occasional time where someone throws in, I guess, the paper and throws in Void Rays. And you're like, well, what do Void Rays do? Well, Void Rays kill any of these units really fast. So if you get like 16 Void Rays, well, maybe not that high, maybe like 8 to 12 Void Rays with Flux Veins, and you charge after them, you can kill so many units. Now, again, if they're utilizing their range, that should never happen, but that's not always a guarantee. So we've seen it, but it's usually not the way to go. Usually it is more so about carriers and Tempests, and just making sure the Tempests have the range on the carriers. Creator's already in a difficult spot. The fact that he is on his own side of the map using his Tempest is already a bad sign. That's less room to utilize, and in fact, a lot of these Interceptors are already tearing them down. This is bad news for Creator. He's actually trying to remax in some of these Stalkers to start... Well, he's barely not killed so many of these carriers. Oh, God. And the Stalkers are not even going to get to participate. The carriers have already gone over to the 5th base. They're already so far away, going after the mothership. That gets taken down. Ditto on the side of Creator, I suppose, but... Wait, on Prince. Okay, I got confused for a second. Ditto on the side of Prince's mothership. But Creator is bleeding. He is bleeding out so much. It's not even any longer about the capital ships. Prince also has his own feisty ground army. Creator, I think, just F2ing at this point. Actually, oh, those were Archons. So that was intentional. That was dangerous, but that was intentional, I guess. Tries to pop some of the army, maybe go after the Interceptors. Is it working? I don't think so. It's chaos every single way that we look, but it's chaos that's favoring Prince. He still has the carriers. He's still taking down more of Creator's economy. And Prince is going to be taking down the recent, I guess, stud of StarCraft 2. All right, Creator gets buku recognition for his GSL group, but everyone's like memeing about how he's the next best Protoss. And Prince just comes in and bops him. Queen transfuse a channeled cast, not because of the balance, but because you want to see them vomit on a unit continuously. I'm good. I'm good without that. But, you know, balance-wise, if they had to spend time healing and not attacking or microing, Because that would assumably also, presumably also mean that they have to be in a certain range to transfuse. You might be onto something here. And Prince is on to a game-winning push. Segues. Yeah. Yeah. GG. He is close. Creator was trying to catch up, but he didn't have enough time to catch up. He really needed to be able to use his Tempest kind of from like the midpoint of the map. And then if he was kiting that entire time, Prince kind of has to recognize he's losing too much. He kind of has to take a breather. And then Creator's still on his 6 bases to 6 bases. And we get to a super, super long macro game, which wouldn't have been necessarily all that fun, but would have still had Creator in it. As it is, Creator goes down, Prince wins. Who was Prince playing for? So DeMuslim goes up 2-1. Scarlett is still playing Starcraft 2. In fact, she streamed a little bit this past couple of weeks. My suggestion, if you ever had a question like that, is literally just to go to, like, tournament results. Oh, wait. Next is Zest Solar, actually. Oh, I shouldn't have. How are the games going? Well, we didn't do so hot. But the games are fun enough, I guess. Scarlett's not in the Civil War. She didn't want to get up early. The hell was that sound? Sounds like a plop. You heard it too? The fuck? Oh, it's being at chat because they had like a little advertisement. You're right. Thank you. Maybe Wardi messaged me in the Bina app. No? Yeah, it was Wardi. Yeah, I'll leave it like that. All right, bottom left, it is Zest. Bottom right is Solar. Muslim potentially winning with this match because I really don't know how this is supposed to go. I do believe that the next match goes to Wardi, if I remember correctly. Oh no, it goes to DeMuslim. So I think DeMuslim wins no matter what. Because I wasn't expecting Prince to win against Creator, that's what it was. Yeah, so since Prince won, I think actually that DeMuslim wins no matter what. Because I'm pretty sure this can go either way, but Ryung should win against Spirit IMO. But Solar Zest, I don't really know who's supposed to win it. As I was saying, I guess saying like game 2? Something like that? It's just that Zest seems to lose games very much out of his own mistakes. Not that he was forced to make mistakes necessarily. You could always argue that all mistakes in StarCraft are forced, but that's getting philosophical. It's just like he'll get into decent positions and then he'll make things that just really make a lot of people scratch their head. So that's either mechanically, like he does bank more than other Protosses. This is what I really can't get about people who defend a Zest bank. Sometimes, 100%, he is banking 900 minerals for 9 zealots. Totally, 100%. Very Protoss thing to do. He, by far, has more instances of banking 1,400 minerals and making 9 zealots. And still having a bank. I really don't think there's any arguing that he has mechanical difficulties. specifically, I don't think there's any arguing that it is noticed more with Zest. And if it's noticed more with Zest, I don't think it's because we're all secretly Zest haters and we just like to, you know, point out the most minute flaws possible. It just is a thing. So that's always my first line of defense when someone's like, you guys don't understand Zest. You guys don't understand pro gaming, okay? He's doing it because he's a Protoss player and he needs to warp in at any point to anywhere. So he's just always prepared. It's like, so why don't other Protosses who are also really good at the race have repeatedly done the same thing? It's because it's a mistake a lot of the time. And perhaps his reasoning is valid. The first 900 minerals, because he needs 900 for nine gateways. The next 200 minerals, he's waiting for something to happen. The next 200 minerals, he's waiting for something to happen. Something finally happens, and he actually warps in. And you're like, well, that makes sense. Well, that's still a mistake. It still is. He's still banking more minerals than he can actually afford and having less army than he actually should. It's just that it's a mistake that makes sense because he was waiting for something to happen. But it's nonetheless something that hurts him. Anyways, I'm gonna... you know what? I didn't mean to actually get dragged into this conversation. Point is, Zest is not the most dependable player, but you could argue that a lot of Protosses right now aren't necessarily the most dependable. If I had to think about a race that I would usually look at a player and go like, oh, okay, they could win anything. I'm not really worried about them being shocked. I actually gotta go with Zerg, professionally. You know, us people on ladder, Zerg's actually probably the worst because we're not good enough to scout and understand. But professionally, I really feel like Zerg's the one that's kind of... It seemed rock solid. And no doubt because Serral certainly makes it look rock solid. But regardless. But Solar, okay, he is the Zerg player, so you're like, so you think Solar's really solid? Well, Solar just seems to be extremely unlucky. Like, not even that he gets forced to make mistakes more, and that's their difference. No, I just think he gets really unlucky. Like, he's having a bad day when you'd usually have a good day. He runs into a nuke when he'd usually avoid a nuke. I mean, it's easy. It's easy and simple as that. So I don't think we're watching two players that are as rock solid as one would hope for their position in Starcraft. So with their forces combined, what kind of wacky ass game does this look like? This Phoenix opener might have been a bit of a surprise to Solar. I don't know if he scouted the actual Phoenix, but eventually an Overlord died, right? So... Oh, no. He actually just didn't know it was Phoenix, maybe. He still had Spore Crawlers, and there's nothing you can really do to stop Phoenix who want to go after drones. So it's not like Solar made a mistake here. But he might have been a little surprised to see Phoenix on an Oracle, because no Oracle was made, right? Yeah. So far, a perfect game, by the way. It warps in exactly when he means to. Yeah, he's a wizard, exactly. You need to think of a nickname for DeMuslim now? We don't. The thing is, I actually think what's most funny about this is not just that the Muslim was the one who lost to me. I don't know why he's doing it. What's funny is that I told him that nickname. We were in Sweden for like summer. And I was like, yeah, it was really funny. Someone called me Zombie Scrub, and it was weird is that I had never heard it before. Like, I've been in this community for like 12 years, and only in the 8th year did someone call me Zombie Scrub. And the Muslim thought that was the funniest thing in the world. So he didn't even come up with this. I had to tell him that someone else made a joke off my name. And then you know what he did? He laughed, and he was like, that's really funny. Go on our merry way, blah, 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 in a totally professional DreamHack cast with no shit talking involved, no reason to hate on me. I come back from break as a host, and he's like, and we'll get the host Zombie Scrub back on the call. It just came out of left field. I just feel like he's using it incorrectly. You know what he is? You know what it is? This is why it's weird, alright? This is why both stories contribute to DeMuslim just being weird. It's because it's like you taught a 12-year-old the word shit. And at first, they're like, haha, shit, it's a curse word, it's funny. And you're like, okay, it's funny, it's funny. And then they start using it all the time. Because they think it's funny. And you can't get them to stop. And you're like, you're 12 years old and you're acting like, you know, a really annoying 12-year-old. You know what I mean by annoying 12-year-olds, right? Not just, oh, you're acting like 12 years old, you're so immature. I mean like that kid, okay? The kid who wears the Fortnite shirt, does the floss dance, and says the word shit all the time. That's DeMuslim right now. Anyways, that was all during a lot of action. Zest tried to do a 1-2 punch in the main and at the front, and Solar actually held quite well. And is, I guess, gonna win the game. It's looking that way. It's not the most, it's not that terrible situation for Protoss to be in, down 50 supply, actually, so we'll see. There's also not a lot of Ravagers here. Actually, I think the lack of Ravagers could be why Zest holds. These force fields lasted a hella long time, and you're just not getting that same type of damage output you would Corrosive Bile. Regardless if they hit, they force the Protoss player to micro. So that was not really all that complete of an army. Again, supply differences, not that bad for a Protoss. And especially when it's really just roaches, it's really not that bad. Plus, Zest did time out his shield battery pretty correctly. They were finishing as he got engaged, so not bad. But Solar is going to have a round 2, this time actually maxed out with Ravagers. Doesn't have the upgrade lead anymore, but I don't think that was as important as his Ravager count. Oh, a Ling surround could be devastating. Just a small amount of Lings. You guys see that? That was like 8 Lings. Actually surrounded Zest's army. And that is GG. He reached for 4th base when he really should not have. I think he didn't realize that Solar was doubling down on the Roach Ravager aggression. Because I think you wait for a second wave. You wait for a really good hold. And then you try and take your 4th, but either overconfidence at play or he didn't realize that Solar was holding down the Roach key. But either way, it would have been recoverable if he didn't get a surround. If he didn't actually get his army stuck. If he was able to run back to his 3rd. I think it would have been recoverable, but he could not do that, could he? So Solar does live up to, I think, his expectation. Super solid Zerg player. And wins for Wardi to once again tie up the score. And the best thing about my DeMuslim comparison is that you know his kid is going to be that kid. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I don't know what is going to be the Fortnite floss dancing kid equivalent in 10 years. I think his kid's like almost 2. But whatever it is, that'll be DeMuslim's kid. Let me tell you this other story about DeMuslim, okay? Let me tell you. This guy judged me for eating shrimp. And you're like, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. He really judged me, okay? It was, again, Sweden summer. God damn it. I'm gonna restart Starcraft because it's moody. He's not a douche. Calm down. Anyways, so DreamHack Summer, we get this, or it may actually have been like winter or fall. We get this awesome talent management crew who are like, we're gonna, you know, we'll get you anything you want. What do you want? And so we were like, really? Like, I don't have catering. And they're like, no, don't worry about it. So they're like, there's a sushi place nearby. And we're like, great, let's get sushi. So they all like put in their orders, and then she turns to me. DeMuslim's in the room, like at the computer, and is just playing Age of Empires. And she turns to me and she says, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna go for the salmon platter thingy, whatever it was called." And DeMuslim, I wish I could replicate this perfectly because it was so judgmental. But I'm just like, dude, I'm just living my best life, right? Like getting food delivered. And he's like, he turns and he looks at me and he's like, "Oh, you're a shrimp eater, huh?" And I look at him because it was so serious and so judgmental. And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Well, you know, shrimp are really, really bad for the environment, you know?" And again, he's super judgy. And I'm just like completely gobsmacked because I'm like, we've never had any conversations along this line, right? Like my family eats vegan a lot. I've been a vegetarian in the past. I would, I guess, be the most likely person to look at someone eating a hamburger and go like, you know, that's really bad for you, right? But have I ever done that? No. DeMuslim eats hella hamburgers. So he turns to me and is like, "You're a shrimp eater, huh? That's really bad." And I'm like, the fuck is happening here? I think I literally say, "The fuck is happening here?" And he's like, no, I just mean, you know, it's just really bad for the environment, you know? And I'm like, "You fucking eat hamburgers all day. Cows are terrible." And he's like, no, shrimp are much worse. And I'm like, what? Why is this, this is never anything we've ever talked about before in our lives. We have never watched someone eat and been like, "You know, that's really terrible, right?" And he just comes out of nowhere with it. He was right, by the way. I did look into it. He was correct. And he didn't mean to sound as judgmental as he was. But this became a thing, right? Because the other casters were there, and Roddy loves this story. He thinks it's so funny. He did his typical, like, Roddy laugh when he heard this. When they saw the interaction happen. But the best thing is that we kind of let it go, and I'm like, okay, but seriously, he sounded so judgmental, and the Muslim was like, "Oh, sorry." And we kind of let it go, but the other casters bring it up occasionally. And then it got brought up again for some reason in the talent room, so not on screen. And he's like, "Yeah, it's just that shrimp are really bad. You know, we try not to eat shrimp at home." And I'm like, "You know what, DeMuslim? You have a fucking kid." And he's like, "So?" And I was like, "You know how bad having a kid is for the environment? You should feel fucking terrible." So that became my go-to response. That's my story. I hope you liked it. Bottom right, Spirit. Top left, Ryung. I do think Ryung's gonna win this one, but let's see, Spirit. Let's see. It was so amazingly out of left field. Oh yeah, by the way, like the next day, or maybe it was the next season, either way, we're getting sushi from the same place. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get the shrimp." Why are DeMuslim and Wardi still going after me, by the way? The only reason I'm bringing this up is that DeMuslim and Wardi are apparently both talking about me. But I don't know why they're talking about me. Sometimes people in the early phases of their hair falling out can become aggressive over trivial things. He's been bold for a while. I think he's learned to live with it. They envy my team. Yeah, that's probably it. Unfortunately, my request earlier to not bring whatever BM they're talking about in their chat over here falls upon deaf ears, or just happened when people weren't around. So nothing happening too much yet. I think they both went for fairly safe openers. Actually, did Spirit lose a Reaper? 2 Reapers, 2 Hellions. It's a bit odd. Not extremely odd, just a little. Like the story? I'm glad you liked my story. Has Spirit won his games so far? I'm not gonna have a battle anytime soon, so I can look. No. He lost to Gumiho. Is that the only... No, I'm definitely missing one. There it is, there it is, there it is. And he lost to Bunny as well, so he's lost his TVTs. He actually has kind of something to prove. Spirit did not win a single game, I believe, in the last team league, in the War Chest team league. So, he's definitely a different player. I mean, that was 2 years ago, but I think as far as perhaps his nerves, I don't know if that has actually changed all that much, which is that I don't think he's an incredibly nervous player, but I do think that he does get affected by it. And I'm not sure it's really improved drastically. So, it's the concern, but Ryung did just lose 9 SEVs to a Raven run by, and he's not going to have any punished by the looks of things. He's trying his own Raven harassment, but it hasn't worked out so well yet. Thank you, Gino, for the 100 bits. Great cast with Pig. Are you casting anything? Iron Finals were my favorite. Thank you. Spirit goes for a double drop. That is actually kind of bold. And there's the auto turret harassment in turn. Still not enough. Still not as much as what Spirit did to him. But anyways, why the medivacs are bold here is that grabbing the 3rd CC on location when you're down 16 Marines is actually kind of just assuming that you're not being pushed. It does work out in the effect that if you are being pushed, the 16 Marines should do a lot of damage, right? But what if 2 Vikings were left behind, stop the 2 drops, and then they are pushing your front? Then you're kind of like, well, okay, let me try and hit the 3rd, and maybe that does work, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it turns into this weird kind of pseudo base trade thing, but generally just having units gone from your 3rd base defense as you take the 3rd base could be seen as, you know, dangerous. But Spirit specifically went for faster stim build, more Marine build, so he did want to utilize them somehow. And drops make a lot of sense. So far, have not worked out. And Ryung, I guess, knowing about this, I'm not sure he oh, he did scout it. I think that's actually him scouting a very, very good scout on stim. You know they have faster stim, they're going to have faster combat shields, they're going to have more aggression, more mobility. You just play nice and standard. And you might not get a benefit of economy, especially because Ryung took damage, but you might get a benefit of like tank count and Raven count, which is specifically what Ryung has. Is it going to matter if his 3rd CC gets bopped? No, but unfortunately his 3rd CC does not get bopped. Only 3 SCVs die. This is Spirit effectively containing Ryung, however, so this is no doubt about it a good attack from Spirit. Ryung simply not realizing that's where the attack was coming from. Now, Ryung might eventually be able to bust out of this, but even with his double Raven, it's the lack of combat shields is pretty brutal. So he's got an entire upgrade to wait for, and if he waits for combat shields, Ryung's still gonna have a 1-1 upgrade lead, I guess. Actually, combat shields might finish exactly when 1-1 finishes. It's pretty well timed. Spirit does eventually pull away, and I think that is smart. It's mature. He still has so many more Marines. His mobilities are actually crazy. If he finds another opportunity like that, Command Center dies. For sure. So it really is Ryung's goal is to not let himself be caught out of position again. Which also probably means that Ryung is just going to have to wait till he's maxed out to actually do anything in this game. And if you're going to wait till you're maxed out to do anything in a TVT, you're going to have to make sure that you don't fall behind in the Viking War. So Ryung already has 6, he's good there, but Spirit's taking a tremendous lead. He's keeping his lead and just continuing to get more leads.
Twitch Prime sub received.
He can start his transfer over into starports to well and truly kill the Terran player. But Ryung, being even a teacher of Maru, should know how to play out this particular position. Thank you, Hosty49, for the Prime sub. For the 4-month Prime sub. And how do you play this out? Seems like everything's against you. You're down on technology, you're down on upgrades, you're down on army supply, down on economy. Everything is against you. I mean, the way that you play it out is you turtle exactly like you usually would, but instead of building medevacs or building maybe two tanks at a time particularly quickly, he's getting second factory, though. You actually try and build Vikings while maxing out. So you are naturally lower on supply. You just don't have the economy to produce as much as the other guy. But since tanks do a great job covering 20, even 30 supply gaps, the only thing you really have to worry about is losing the air war. If you lose the air war, then Liberators come up and then you're really stuck. So I'd say unless you have like legitimately a 50 supply difference, you shouldn't be broken. I know it's really a bold statement, I suppose, but that's kind of my belief. Over the last 2 years, and I guess Maru kind of leading the way, if you're only down 30, maybe 40 supply in a TVT, but you have 3 bases, you have your production, I don't think you're supposed to lose in the next 3-4 minutes. I think you are just going to get to late game. And that is sometimes why TVT can be awfully boring, let's be real. Because you can't necessarily kill someone. There are periods of lull where Spirit's not doing an incorrect thing. Like, well, Spirit should try and kill him. It's really hard to kill Terrans who are properly positioned. But he's not doing something that necessarily guarantees his victory either. People have gotten way better at turtling. It used to be, before people realized they could kind of get away, I think, with more starport production. And they're like, oh my god, I'm dead. I need to get as many Marines and as many tanks. And I need to make really bold maneuvers like faster fourths and doom drops. And oh god. Back then, if someone properly transitioned into air, that person died pretty easily. But since people were like, what if we just position our tanks, build Vikings the entire time, don't play the mid-game TVT, and just force a late game. And that's kind of been stumping Terrans all over the world, in my opinion. You just don't get games that end that quickly unless you're really far in the lead. But perhaps I talk too meta. Too much philosophy here. No doubt about it, Spirit has the lead, but it has been reduced to simply an upgrade lead, which is big, but it's not even that big of an upgrade lead. And a bank lead, and the bank lead isn't even that big. So Spirit, you know, at one point he was ahead 40 supply. That looked a lot better. This position right now, I don't know, I feel like I've proven my point. And somehow a Marine squad killed Planetary. Spirit not paying attention, didn't even try to repair it. Maybe it goes down even with the repair, but Okay. Gonna try and break the front lines. Anti-armor missile, Anti-armor missiles and interference matrix. There we go. Going down to plenty, and that means that Ryung wins the air war. And if he wins the air war, then he has actually come back in this game truly and entirely. The 3-3 is still worrisome, and he does remember to get it, but the air can be a lot more important. I think Ryung has come back in this game. I will assume that 3-3 will finish without Ryung having been killed. Maybe he will die to a +3 timing, but I don't think so. It's so much less about the Marines anyways. What Spirit can do with a surplus of Marines and better upgrades is, again, be more mobile, so it's attack to the left, right, center, whatever. And Ryung should have trouble keeping up, but how many tanks do you have? 15 tanks? That covers a lot of bases. Spirit's gonna try and slow push. Because I'm not sure he's gonna win this Viking War either, right? No, he's not. He actually has an upgrade lead, funnily enough, and he even got the anti-armor missile there. But it only covers so much when it comes to Viking Wars, which are notorious overkillers. But I thought he was at least going to be siege hopping forward. He did not get the opportunity to do that, and now Ryung, using his Marines, despite their disadvantage, despite them being in lower numbers, he's using them to get some run-bys in. This one was not the most effective. Kills mostly static defense, maybe some reinforcements as well, but really not the most effective. They are effective in that they got Spirit off his back, because if Ryung was now being pushed, if maybe Spirit was moving up his tanks to here and shelling away the planetary, well then obviously that planetary might actually fall. But Spirit has pulled back entirely. His little Viking trade did not get him any further ground in this game, and that's the most important thing. Ryung is not giving any ground. He's up to his own 5 bases after killing Spirit's, I guess what would have been his 6th. Spirit did replace his 5th, but isn't actually expanding faster than Ryung at the end of the day. And those upgrades are going to finish, and in fact, Ryung now has an upgrade lead. A crazy twist. As far as the Marines go, he is still farther down on the air weapons, and as much as I always hate how Vikings shoot, it's fine. The air upgrades do matter. Just not as much as Marine upgrades. And now Ryung's getting double armory to try and catch up in that department. Oh god, can we just fast forward? Can we just press the ×8 button? Please. Actually, unfortunately, I did have someplace to go. Oh, good find on the tanks. Good find. 3 tanks go down. What's wrong with Viking shooting? They just overkill really, really poorly. They have great range, but they are not fast shooters. So they overkill and don't take as much advantages out of upgrade leads as Marines are the typical example of when upgrades really matter a lot, and Vikings, I would say, are one of the better examples of how upgrades sometimes don't matter a lot. Spirit does get a little bit of position over to the right side, but as much as that looked like it was promising, it's really not. Ryung still holds a supply lead, mostly giving away Marines and then the tanks, of which he already had a surplus of, so I guess he lost 2 tanks there or something? He already had so many. So, who cares? And while I really liked Spirit's initial dedication to Liberators, I do think the difference between a Raven user and a Liberator user is literally the momentum that they have when they go into it, okay? Because I think at the end of the day, there's no momentum, there's no benefit from the Liberators coming out as fast as they can come out. Ravens are 100% better. That has kind of been proven in TVT. But what Liberators can do is come out really quickly. You can have the research already on the way in the fusion core, and it can come out with reactored starport, right? So usually if you have the momentum, like Spirit did, you push, you siege up the Liberators, maybe you lose the air war because you built 4 Liberators, they built 4 more Vikings, but then the Liberators actually kill the 4 tanks that are protecting the planetary, so the rest of your army gets in. That's exactly what was supposed to happen when Spirit took an engagement on this left side, but Ryung had already built up quite a few Ravens. He had the original 2 from the very beginning of the game, so he just interference matrix literally everything, so he wasn't broken. So now, Liberators are actually not that scary. Of course, they still could possibly be in the very perfect scenario, but against someone who has Ravens, they're not as scary. And in this particular instance, Ryung is winning the air war anyways. He has more Vikings. command center is going to be, you know, nice to get. No one's banking a lot of money. But yeah, I was gonna go on a road trip with the fam, and we were hoping to leave by like 1. That ain't happening. Oh, Ryung. A little more promising if he actually wins with this push. Does he win with this push? There's so much. I think it's all mostly Ryung though. Yeah. Yeah, Ryung just won. Well, it mostly came out the way that I expected. I called this clan war really well, in my opinion. I was a little unsure about Zest Solar, but everything else worked out. Oh wait, no, I got Creator wrong, that's right. Still, fair enough. Spirit put up a hell of a fight. He definitely had a lead, but it's... I dare say... the problem with TVT right now is benefiting a guy like Ryung, which is you can't exactly break mid-ish, late game-ish Terran. So you have to be good at the Raven portion. There seems to be very limited games, very few games, where someone gets a lead like Spirit does and then actually wins off that lead. It of course happens, but when you're facing someone like Ryung or Maru, or Cure, I guess, it doesn't seem to happen. So in that case, if you're like, well, I beat him in the early game, and then I beat him in the mid game, but I still have to face him in the late game, that's bullshit. That's what it is. You better be the better late game player. And a lot of people are not the better late game player. But anyways, GG. TVT is, you know, it's still an interesting matchup, but I do think that there are 1 or 2 points of it that just make it understandably boring for people. Single skill check, shouldn't the stronger player win? Well, I do think the stronger player wins. Because the stronger player would probably also be stronger in the late game. And the stronger player is more likely to win given advantages. Or even given disadvantages. If they really truly are the stronger player, they'll recover.